Guys, this interview brings joy to my soul, man. It just brings back so many amazing memories of the good old Fiesta Bowl with Boise State and Oklahoma, which is one of my absolute favorite memories, sports memories of my entire existence. And I get to talk to a player who had a pretty important play in that game, if you will. And he had an amazing career at Boise State. And we're going to get to learn about his career, what sports have taught him, and what he's been able to, I guess, transition into his regular life these days, post football. And you guys are going to love this interview. It doesn't matter if you're a Boise State fan or not, but those who are Boise State fans will remember this individual. So stay tuned, pay attention. This is the Game Time Guru. So,
what time is it? Game time!
This is the Game Time Guru podcast, where I interview sports figures from all over the world to help deliver a panoramic view on sports. So whether you're a former athlete, one of the crazies, or simply a casual sports fan, this is the perfect show for you as we peel back the curtains and learn from our guests every single week. I'm your host, Shane Larson, and I'm helping you see sports through a different lens. What's up, everybody? Welcome out to another episode of the Game Time Guru podcast. I am your host, Shane Larson. Excited to be with you guys. 5.5 years down with this show. It continues to grow. We're in 94 different countries, almost 80,000 downloads. We just continue to move forward with the growth of this show. Now, for those who don't know the background story, maybe this is one of your first times listening, or you're a newer listener to the show. For those who don't know, the reason I even started this show was because of a guy from Boise State University. His name's Bob Beeler. Bob Beeler was the voice of the Boise State Broncos for football and whatnot, and he was in one of my classes back in 2016, 2017 at Boise State, and he told me to start my own show. He said, you got to go home and start recording. So there's a whole story behind that, but the reason I'm even here is because of Bob Beeler. Now, he was on the show back in 2017 as well. When I first started, he interviewed with me, and big mentor, but he follows Boise State football, which is the reason I even bring that up, because today's guest is very, very special for me because he is a former Boise State football player, has a lot of experience in the sport. We're going to be chatting with him about, his experience playing football, some of his favorite memories and so forth, and then the parallels between sports and life, and, how he can take some of those sports lessons into his business that he does now. So his name is Vinny Perretta, former Boise State wide receiver. Vinny, thanks so much for joining us, brother.
Hey, Shane, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, Vinny, you were at Boise State in what I would call the glory days, when it started to really hit its peak, right? Like it started to take its rise. People would say, a little bit later, they had some good seasons too, but you were right there when it started to take off. Prior to Boise State, though, prior to your college experience in the early, I guess you would say 2000s, mid 2000s in that area. Talk to us about your football background and your sports background as a whole, and how you even ended up at Boise State University to play football.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So grew up, was born and raised down in San Diego, California. My family got there. My dad played football for the San Diego Chargers. So football was just kind of naturally in the blood, and we were always around the game, even though I wasn't born when my dad was playing, but he would always take us down to San Diego Charger practices, and we'd get to go sit on the sidelines during games and watch the junior sales and the Natron means and just a bunch of those former players. And so we were just naturally exposed to it a lot as a kid. Growing up, I always wanted to be like my dad. I wanted to be a football player, right? So didn't start playing tackle football until I was about the 8th grade. My dad just kind of held off, even though I was chomping at the bit. And he's like, 8th grades probably get 1 year before high school. And so ended up going to La Costa Canyon down in San Diego, North County, and played for 4 seasons down there, freshman through senior year. And at the end of my senior career, I was really going back and forth on what I wanted to do. Did I want to go to college and just go to school, or did I want to go play college football and give it a shot? And I had some smaller schools interested in me, and had reached out, and a couple gave me a scholarship to go attend school and play ball. And I was just kind of really trying to wrap my head around that. And I said, you know what, if I'm going to go play, I believe in myself enough that I want to go give this a shot at the Division I level. And so Boise State had been sending me some letters, just like they probably did everybody else. And we kind of reached out to them and said, hey, interested in going to Boise State University. My senior year, fell in love with the program, watching them on ESPN. They had Tim Gilligan and TJ Akery running around, and Ryan Dinwiddie was throwing the rock all over the field. And down in San Diego, we got them on ESPN. And so really fell in love with the program. And Coach Riddle, who was the running back coach, reached out and was like, hey, obviously I recruit San Diego. We'd love for you to come up for the spring game. And so I came up to Boise, never been here before, went to the spring game of my senior year. And they said, Vinny, come on up. We'd love for you to walk on. And if you can prove yourself, then we'll give you a scholarship right away. And I just fell in love with the town, fell in love with the program. The coaching staff was awesome. The players were awesome. The program was on the rise. And I said, you know what? I want to be a football player just like my dad. And this is where I want to go do it at. And so I said, hey, let's go play D1 at a rising program in Boise State and give it a shot.
I dig that. San Diego, by the way, is my favorite city in the entire world. I was just having this conversation yesterday when I was talking to a coworker of mine. San Diego is my favorite city in the whole entire world. So that's awesome that you're from there. Now, are you bitter about the San Diego Chargers move to Los Angeles?
I am. Yeah. So we naturally just grew up as San Diego Charger fans. My dad, played there for 5-6 seasons. And so growing up, we were huge Charger fans. It just gave us something to team to root for on Sundays. And then when the Spanos family decided to move them up to LA, it's right down the street, but LA and San Diego, when it comes to sport teams, that's a bit of a rivalry. So we were just like, going into the backyard, in enemy territory. So we were a little bitter about that one. It's still hard not to root for the brand and the players, but I'd still love to see them move back to San Diego at some point. That'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah. San Diego deserves their football team back, man. I'll just tell you that. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. That's so cool, though. So before we get into your Boise State career and kind of what was going down there, now we know how you got there. But I am curious, did you feel any pressure? I know you said you weren't alive when your dad was playing during his playing days, but did you feel pressure of having a dad that played at the professional level to try to have to meet those standards? And then I guess a follow-up question to that was work ethic. Did your dad ever instill a work ethic in you of this is what it takes to get to the next level? Did you get to see that growing up with him?
Yeah, good question. So my dad, he obviously got exposed and played a lot of football over the years. And back when he was playing ball in the mid-'70s, early '80s, those guys were starting training camp a month before what they're starting now. And they were full pack jack, 2-a-days, just grinding through those summer dog days of training camp, and so my dad just really got his fill of football. He was an offensive lineman, and they were pounding all day, every day. And it was a grind. It was tough. It beat his body up. His body's gone through the ringer. And as he's getting older, you can tell a little bit more and more each and every day. But it was probably a little bit of a love-hate relationship there, towards the end of his career, where he's like, man, this is what I do, but man, it's a grind too. And so my dad never rammed it down my brother or myself's throat. He said, if you want to play football, you can play it, but I'm not going to push you to play it. And naturally, we were always watching football games because, you love the game. If you play it, you're watching, college football on Saturdays, you're watching NFL games on Sundays. So my dad would always have ball games on, and, it was a cool thing. It was a prideful thing to say, yeah, my dad played in the league. It was something that me and my brother were very proud of, and we had his old jerseys and helmets and game balls. And we were just naturally exposed to, to sports and football in particular. So my dad, he knew, what the game was like. And he's like, if you want to do it, I'll support you. If you don't want to do it, I support you too. So he'd been there. And I think that really helped, having a parent who played the game and knew it. And I learn a lot from my dad now that I can teach my kiddos, and encouraging them if they want to play. And if not, hey, let's go explore what else you guys are interested in. But once we did sign up to play football, my dad definitely did instill, hey, okay, if you're going to play ball, you're going to play ball and you're going to do it the right way. And you're going to have, that strong work ethic, just like in life in general, that he always coached us up on. But if you're going to play ball. You got to respect the game, and you better be all about ball and work your butt off while you're doing it, you know? So yeah, once we signed up for it, it was kind of like game on, you know, and my dad, it was just such a great mentor and coach to us, you know, as a dad who's been in those shoes before. So
I love that, dude. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Now, Vinny, when you got over to Boise State, the transition from high school football to the collegiate game, even at Boise State, I want to know what the hardest transition piece was for you, I guess, if there was one, going from the high school scene to the collegiate scene, whether that be being a student athlete or if it was the work that you had to put in, the grind that it required at the college level. But what was the biggest transition for you?
You know, I think the biggest transition was just the technique. I mean, so much in high school, you have a lot of these raw athletes who just rely so much on their talent. And at the high school level, you can get by based off your talent alone. But then when you take a next step up to, you know, college football or even next step up into the NFL, everybody's talented. Everybody has that athletic capabilities. So I think the biggest thing that I struggled with initially was, okay, I'm going to rely on my speed and talent, but that'll only take you so far because everybody's got that at the next level, right? So for me, a lot of it was I played a lot of running back, a little bit of receiver in high school. And when I was playing wide receiver, I beat guys with my speed, right? And then when I came to Boise State, I was playing wide receiver. And so the defenders, they were going against speed all day, every day for the past 4 years, right? And so I really had to learn and hone in on my technique on how to run a route, how to release against a press, just those little things, my footwork. I was just so raw. And so a lot of that was help and mentor from, you know, teammates when I was redshirting, like TJ Acree. And I'd even hop on the film set and watch, like, you talk about a guy who can run a route is Tim Gilligan. And I just really studied him day in and day out on footwork and his steps in and out of breaks. And that really helped me. So that was the biggest challenge, was just the technique of the position play, for sure.
That time frame is so cool because that was such a, like, just the talent that was at Boise State at the time was just amazing. But I would love for those who are listening, whether you're a parent or you're an athlete currently listening. I coach I coach club basketball at the high school level, so 17-year-old kids, juniors and seniors in high school, and I want them to take note of what you just said there. So rewind that part and listen to what Vinny just said, as far as, like, some of you guys are great athletes, and that's awesome. But there's going to be a transition there. So you can't always rely on athleticism, because when you get to that next level, there's going to be everybody's at that level, like everyone. And so you're going to have to learn the intricacies of the game. And you might be wise to start studying that kind of stuff earlier and trying to implement that at an earlier age if you can. At Boise State, you're known for, well, not known for, but there's one of the best things that I can remember, like, is the infamous touchdown pass in the Fiesta Bowl. But before we even get to that, so it was the pass to Schouman in the Fiesta Bowl. But I want to talk about the Fiesta Bowl experience, because to this day, I was 18 years old at the time. That was one of the coolest, best memories of my entire life from a sports perspective. I travel to sports games all across the U.S. now. That's kind of what I enjoy doing. I'm a Buckeyes fan too, so I go to Ohio State games, a lot of Boise State games. I'm a Boise State grad, season ticket holder, all that stuff. Gone to a lot of games, a lot of big games, but still to this day, that Fiesta Bowl was one of the best, just because of the implications there, the history and everything. Like, you know, Boise State's in the BCS Bowl is awesome. But I want to know, from a player's perspective yourself, Vinny, as you grew at Boise State and you became a integral piece of the offense. You were huge for the offense. Like, it was a big piece. You were a vital part of the team. And you guys get against Oklahoma. I know from a fan's perspective, I remember when Oklahoma came out, I was actually shell-shocked as a fan, because I had heard about it. Like, man, this is going to be the big-time football, yada, yada, yada. Boise State can't match with these guys, whatever. And as they came out on the field, they came out in the wagon, whatever. I was like, oh, boy. Like, we were sitting with all their fans, and I was like, yeah, maybe they're right. Like, I was a little shell-shocked. But I want to know, from a player's perspective, how you guys prepared, what your feelings were entering the Fiesta Bowl. And then we'll get to the discussion of the past and stuff like that later on. But going to the Fiesta Bowl, what were your feelings? Were you nervous? How did you guys get focused for that particular game?
Yeah, good question, Shane. So, Coach Pete, I'd give a lot of credit to Coach Pete on this one and the coaching staff. Obviously, when we found out that we were going to the Fiesta Bowl, it was a celebration in itself. What a treat and what a reward to an outstanding undefeated season that we experienced during the regular season. And so initially, we were all just super pumped and excited, and a couple days after they announced that we were playing Oklahoma, I think it set in a little bit like, okay, we're going to play Oklahoma. Like, these guys, there's some dudes for sure. And so I'll never forget, with this question, Shane, that you asked, I'll never forget just our first team meeting and our bowl preparation practices that we had after the announcement. And, okay, now it was time to go to work and start preparing for the bowl game. And Coach Pete sat us down, and it was, okay, yeah, this is awesome. But you could just tell the focus and the intensity in Coach Pete's eyes. And he told us point blank, like, hey, guys, this is awesome. What a reward. But, we're going down to Phoenix, and we're not going just to go. Like, we're going down to win this thing. And it's going to be a bear, and it's going to be a grind. But we got a lot of work to put in over this next month. And we're going to grind. And we're going to go down there, and we're going to be prepared and ready to roll. And we're going to go win this stinking football game, So a lot of that celebration at that point was just pushed to the side. And it's like, okay, when Coach Pete, he definitely sets the tone. And he set that tone early. And we knew that, okay, we're in the Fiesta Bowl, and we weren't going down there to lose. We were going to go win this thing. So it was his intensity and focus that trickled down from the top all the way down to the bottom. And I think just the whole program, from coaches, assistant coaches, players, equipment managers, everybody felt that. And there was a lot of intense preparation and focus that occurred because of that.
That's so sick. It's so sick to hear that. I'm sure it was crazy. That's so dope. I want to know then too, because I remember there was a memory in that game, and I remember like it was yesterday. It's 15 years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday because it was. I remember I went to school with Derek Schouman. He was a senior when I was a freshman in high school at Eagle, and so like seeing him, I kind of always looked up to him as a football player because he was a big kid, like playing at Boise State. And he was actually a really, really solid tight end over there. I remember there was a time, though, he was really well known for his blocking, too. That's why in the NFL, he was kind of a blocking guy. They put him at fullback, put him at tight end. Like, he was a blocker, too, even though he could catch the ball as well. But he's a great blocker. I remember there was a time, though, he was pass blocking. He was helping on pass blocking, and he got ran over. Like, absolutely ran over. And I'm like, oh, because to me, Derek was a big kid. It's like, dude, he's like an inch taller than me, and he's quite thick, and he's strong. And just to see him get bull rushed, it was a bull rush, and he just got lit up. And I'm like, oh man, these guys are huge, dude. Like, it just seemed weird to me because everybody says that, but I'm like, nah, dude, they're not that big, whatever. And then I saw like how they compared to some of our bigger athletes and whatnot. But you yourself, I should say, you're not like the tallest guy in the world. Like, we'll just put it that way. So
nope.
I think they have.
I'll have to remind Schouman about that one the next time I see him as well. But I was definitely probably on the smaller end of guys who were out on that field that day. And I definitely felt small out there. Let's just say that.
Did you ever take a hit during the game or a block where like you noticed it, or were you so focused in the game it didn't feel like it was any different than playing in the normal schedule?
I definitely, over my career, I definitely did take some good, healthy hits for sure that I felt. In that game in particular, off the top of my head, I don't remember one that sticks out. But I think the thing that sticks out to me the most was just obviously those guys, they were the biggest team that we saw all year, and they were fast, And it was definitely a different player out there than what we had seen all season long. And so they definitely had the advantage there.
Totally. No, that's cool. For those who are like just the normal fan, I would like to explain the speed real quick. My first experience with like that, besides the Oklahoma game, when I went to the Ohio State Clemson college football playoff, I went to both of their college football playoff games. So the first one was in 2016. I remember seeing it was just wild. I saw Clemson's defensive lineman sprint from one sideline to the other sideline. And I was like, that dude should not be running that fast. Like, that's just not how it should be. Well, I saw that all around the field, and it was just like a different speed. And they made Ohio State look slow. And Ohio State actually was not slow. They just made them look slow. They were much more athletic. The next year following, I went to Oklahoma versus Ohio State in the shoe. And that was when Baker Mayfield he planted the flag in the middle of the field stuff. I was at that game. And that again showed me like, holy frick, these guys are fast. The very next week after that game, I went to Boise State versus Troy because I was a season ticket holder, and I'm watching the Troy-Boise State game, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm like, oh my gosh, like it was so slow compared to and they're the smaller athletes slower. So I just want people to understand, like, there's just a different speed and there's different athletes out there. But anyway, as we get into the details of that game, most people understand the game for the hook and ladder, the Statue of Liberty. But what they oftentimes forget is the throw in the end zone to Schouman, which you had on a fourth down, have you? So before that play, remind me I remember it was Ian Johnson who went down, but they had to review the play, if I'm not mistaken, because it was almost a fumble. Is that what happened right before the fourth down? I could have sworn it was right then where Ian went down. And
he went down and I think it was his knee or his hand, ball came loose and they hopped on it. And they went back and reviewed it. And obviously showed that it wasn't a fumble. And I believe that's what kind of led into the 4th and 2 play.
I'm pretty sure you're right. I'm pretty sure you're right. Because here's what happens. Ian Johnson goes up the middle. He gets stopped. But the thing is the angle, and I think he said it in Out of the Blue, the documentary or whatever. He even said like, one angle can mess it up forever. Because when we were watching the replay on the big screen, it looked like he fumbled it. My uncle texted me at the time and said he fumbled that ball. And we all that's why the Oklahoma fans erupted and the Boise State fans sat there like disgusted. We were like about to throw up. Because it was one angle that could change everything. But then they see it from different angles. Obviously, it ended up he was down. That was the right call. He was down. You go into that play. Okay, I know you've probably talked about this a million times in your life, but you're on the short side of the field. You have a very little window to throw it where you're at, and they're taking the ball out of their quarterback's hands. They're putting it into a receiver's hands to do that. So it's obviously a very risky call, as we all know that by now. But when you got the play call, were you just so hyper-focused on the game that you couldn't even think to be nervous, or did you have any thoughts going through your head? I just want to know what was going through your head, Vinny, when you got that play call and you had to go execute it.
Yeah, Shane. So when they called that play package with that personnel group, I was running out on the field and thinking to myself, okay, we're in this personnel group, what plays? And then it hit me. I'm like, oh man, for that personnel group that was running out on the field, like there was only one play in that personnel group, and it hit me pretty quickly what was coming. So that's when I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be really good or really bad. Fourth and 2, right? So that play. So if you rewind it back to the final game of the season, we played Nevada in Reno, and that's a game that we won the WAC championship and secured the Fiesta Bowl position, undefeated season, whatnot. And it was during that game we ran a very similar play, except we flipped it, and it was just a wildcat direct snap to myself, wildcat formation, and it was just a sweep around the left edge. And it was, probably 3rd and 2, so a very similar down and distance, very similar spot on the field. It's just that it was flipped. And so I ran it was a run, a designed run, and it worked. And we scored a touchdown on that play. And so coaches, we're probably saying, we know this Oklahoma coaching staff is obviously very solid. They're probably doing their due diligence watching this play. So if we come out in this formation, even though we're going to flip it, they're probably going to coach up their players like, hey, if we see number 19 in the backfield, with this set, it's probably going to be a run to the short end of the field, right? And that's when we kind of designed the pass off of that play with them, with us expecting them to think that it was going to be a run. So we ran it, probably 20 times in that month during bull prep. And then, it was, half the time in practice, the pass wasn't even open. So I'd have to tuck it and try to scramble for, that 2 or 3 yards to get a touchdown or get a first down, right? And that was the game plan. Like, hey, if Shoe couldn't get open in the corner of the end zone, then I was going to tuck it and try to run for the first down. And so when we lined out, Schouman I mean, just the whole team in general, but Shu did an outstanding job, just really selling the block and then releasing to the corner of the end zone, and he was open, and everything just happened so quickly. It was like bam, bam. By the time the play call was called in, running out into the huddle, by the time the snap to the touchdown, everything went so fast. I blacked out,
Yeah.
But luckily it worked.
No, it's so awesome, man. And I've watched that play over and over and over again because of how many, there's just such a small room for error in that you're on the short side of the field. It's collapsing on you guys. So if you were going to tuck it and run, you're probably not going anywhere. You had some big boys right there. And Shu, you did a great. I love it. You said that he did a great job at selling it. And it almost seems like it was like, is he going to get out there? Like, come on, hurry. So when you watch the play over and over, it was like it matched up perfectly. But it was like, dude, what if he took a half a second later, to get out there, all those little things you think of, and the ball floated perfectly. It was perfect touch. But if it was just a little bit later, if it hung in the air even more, that guy could have gotten there to knock it out. He caught it like this instead of catching it like that to shield his body. So I always wonder, what if that dude would have swatted down, knocked it out? I mean, there's a lot of things that go. One of my favorite things about it, though, Vinny, was your reaction. It was this amazing reaction. It was just the emotions of throwing the touchdown pass, huge game. Your reaction is one of my favorite things to that. Just knowing that you'd done that and then you're excited about it. That was one of my favorite things about that game. And then obviously, you guys win it with the Statue of Liberty and all that stuff that goes down. It was incredible. But I want to know what did that whole run and the Fiesta Bowl win? That wasn't the end of your college career. Some guys are oh, they ride off into the sunset and they're done with their football career, or they go on to the next level if they can and whatnot. But for you, that was just sort of like the beginning. You weren't done with your college career. So what did that Fiesta Bowl win and that whole season do for you as an athlete for the rest of your college career?
Yeah, it was definitely one that obviously we celebrated a lot, and I felt like it was for the whole off-season training camp going into the next season. The city of Boise, it was just, everybody, it was talked about until opening game of the next season, And so obviously it was a huge win for the program. It was a huge win for the city of Boise and the fans. It was a huge win for just the smaller teams in Division I football. It was a huge win for college football in general. I mean, people still talk about it to this day. That's what makes the game and the sport just so awesome and true and pure, right? But for myself and probably my teammates, it definitely raised the bar on what those expectations were. Obviously, we knew, and it was just an unbelievable run, and probably one that you're not going to experience, many more times in your career. So we definitely celebrated it, but then we wanted to go do it again, right? And it definitely set the tone, like I was saying earlier. But it was just a sense of accomplishment. But it just shows hey, if you put the work in and you're prepared and you're disciplined and you want it and you're hungry, like anything in life, you can go do it, So we just learned so much about it from the football side of things, but just always also, just a lot of life lessons learned there as well.
Absolutely awesome, man. It's so cool. Now, I didn't get to see the Kellen Moore freshman year, that type of thing. I think that was your last, if I'm not mistaken, that might've been your last season. If I'm not.
Yeah. My senior year was his first year of starting. Yeah.
That's right. I had left on my mission then, but I did see the following season. I was at the University of Washington game. That was a tough one. Yeah. But you guys still had an amazing run there. It just came short against freaking Hawaii. Oh my gosh, that was brutal too.
Yeah.
Cole Brennan, RIP, but Cole Brennan was a monster back then. I do want to ask though, so you got to play with some, solid quarterbacks. You had Taylor Tharp, you had Jared Zabransky, you had obviously Kellen Moore at the early stage of his career. I'm not going to ask you who's your favorite, but what were some of the strengths of your quarterbacks? That's very rare, by the way, that you get to play with three separate quarterbacks in a college career. So what was some of the things you took away from playing with those three guys?
Yeah. So I'd say Zabransky. Loved playing with Zabransky. I mean, that guy was such a fierce competitor. definitely, and he had your back, right? And that's what I love playing with him, just because of the competitiveness and the drive, and just his eagerness to go and win and compete, right? And then he also was just a great leader. I mean, he definitely held a lot of guys accountable, and just that accountability side of things, which I definitely appreciated. And so he was a great leader. Taylor Tharp, I love playing with Taylor. He just really just let the ball go, and he said, you know what, I'm going to throw this ball downfield and we're going to go do this thing. And so I really appreciated Taylor's just aggressiveness out on the field. And then Kellen, I think the thing that I really enjoyed most about Kellen is I could tell if I was in a set based off the shell that the secondary defense was giving us, I could probably tell 90% of the time if Kellen was going to be throwing the ball to me. So he was just, his football intelligence was just so dialed in that I knew, okay, if they're giving us a cover 2 look, like I'm the cover 2 beater on this route, I got to get open because I know Kellen's throwing the ball to me. So just really playing with Kellen was so fun because he put the ball where he needed to put the ball to beat certain coverages, and definitely takes a special quarterback to do that. So all three of them so different. Zabransky was very mobile and could run. Taylor had a killer year just sitting in the pocket. He threw for a ton of yards. I think he had a season record at the end of his year that he started. And then Kellen, obviously, I think to this day is the all-time winningest quarterback in college football history. I think he is, if not number 2. So. But a 50-3 record in college football is pretty unbelievable. So playing for Kellen was a joy as well.
Kellen's wild, man. I think those 3 losses by like a combined 5 points or something.
Yeah,
that's brutal. That's brutal. I was at the TCU and the TCU home game. I think it was either his senior year or his junior year, and I was also at the Nevada game, the infamous missed field goal. But yeah, it's just brutal losses for him. But yeah, that's so crazy. You were around so many awesome players, man. And then at the end of that, you were an undrafted free agent and had an opportunity with the Vikings. So I want to hear your experience in the professional level. And I asked you about your transition from high school to the collegiate level. What was the transition that you noticed there? You mentioned technique was one of the things for the collegiate level, but was there any transitions from college to the professional level, even at camp, I guess?
Yeah. So I think probably to answer that question, I would say the playbook was just, almost next level in the NFL. And then I would say, I've definitely felt the game speed going from high school to college, but from college to the NFL, I mean, those guys are so fast. It's crazy. So I would say playbook and speed for the next level was big. But yeah, I after, the Point Stadia game my senior year, I said, you know what, I'm going to give this thing a shot. And I know I'm probably not going to get drafted, but if I can run a quick 40 at pro day and test well there, maybe I'll get a shot. And so the draft went that season. Obviously I didn't get drafted, but the Vikings called me and said, hey, do you want to sign an undrafted free agent deal? And there was a couple other teams that had reached out, but the Vikings expressed the most interest in me that year. I went out and did a visit in the spring, and just felt like that was probably the right thing to do since they showed the most interest in me, and was just blessed for the opportunity to even get a shot to go to a rookie mini camp, and training camp and playing postseason games. I mean, it was such a treat and such a cool experience that I saw growing up, when I was exposed around, some of the NFL, and then to be a player of it. I mean, it was just to be a fly on the wall was even fun, just sitting in team meetings. So it was definitely a very cool, unique experience for sure.
That's so awesome, dude. I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
It's funny you said that. There's a friend of mine who played high school football where I go. He was invited to the Chargers rookie mini camp. He went to Idaho State, played safety and linebacker there. Goes to the Chargers. He told me after he got back, he's like, dude, there's these linemen that are pulling that are like 6'5", 300-pounders. He goes, they shouldn't be running that fast. Like that's what he told me. He goes, there's a whole new world for me, but it was a great experience. He goes, So yeah, it's just funny talking about like speed of the game and just the next level. But it's cool that you had that experience. I know you had some you had a lot of ups. I would say in your career, like you busted your butt. You had a lot of ups. You were part of a program that was really successful in college, and I want to talk about that and how you've transitioned into the next part of your life, which is working and you're running your business and you're doing your thing and as a family and everything, like, what are some, like, if you could name 3 things that you learned in football throughout the duration of your career, where that's high school, college, professional, 3 skill sets that you acquired that you can transition right into your life and your work that have helped you succeed?
Yeah. Let's see. I think number 1 is you're definitely going to be held accountable for the decisions that you make. If you want to slack off, well, when something happens, you're going to have to pay for those consequences, right? You want to put the hard work in, and you're going to, reap that reward, right? So definitely the accountability side of things, like, hey, you can't be on your heels. You got to be on your toes. You got to go get it. You got to work hard. Nothing in life, I think, is probably going to be handed to you in most scenarios, and you got to go and get it, and you got to want it, and you got to hold yourself accountable for your actions. And those actions, you will be rewarded or disciplined, right? Just like in many things in life for what you decide to do. So definitely the accountability side of things. Obviously, the work ethic, the day in and day out. I mean, waking up in the middle of training camp and you're going for 2-a-days and you're sore and you're tired and dehydrated and hurting and you don't want to be there. You want to be on the beach somewhere and 95 degrees outside and the blue turf feels like you're running on fire. Definitely the work ethic and facing a little adversity there. I just kind of tell myself, like, man, if this is the most of my worries right now, then things are pretty good, because it's such a blessing. So a lot of it was just kind of a mindset. Are you telling yourself a story, or, is this just a beautiful opportunity and go have fun and just go get after it, So I think, work ethic and that mindset would probably be the second and third biggest thing. Adversity was the big one too. I walked on at Boise State, was an undrafted free agent in the NFL, and I was like a kid, like you said, like a fanboy. Like I was a fanboy, man. Like I walked on at Boise State. A lot of people didn't want me to go play, so just being involved and a part of the program, I was like, gosh, this is so cool. And then to go do it in the NFL, I'm like, gosh, this is even cooler. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what a blessing. Like, I don't deserve to be here. But during those times you face, a lot of doubts and just facing a little bit of that adversity for me on the football field, in meetings and, getting called out for running her out this way. Sometimes you get popped in the mouth a little bit in life and got to face a little bit of that adversity, and you just got to keep going, and it's going to make you tougher and it's going to sharpen your sword. So many things in life, that you can relate back to sports, and that's such a beautiful thing. That's why I'm a huge advocate of sports, and just kids being able to participate in ball, any kind of sports, any kind of activity, because you just learn so much in those extracurricular activities, so.
Totally, man. That's so cool. That's so cool. I really am going to encourage everybody who's listening to this. If you're on an iPhone, whatever, rewind that, listen to the last 3 minutes of what Vinny just said. If you're a parent, especially, I encourage the parents to listen to that. Sports can teach you so many amazing things, but I can say it over and over, but people are going to be like, well, what do you know? I'm going to be like, well, listen, I competed, but I didn't compete at that level, I listen to someone who's been there, and then Vinny's been there and he understands it. And that is what I hope you guys take away from this. Now, Vinny, what are you up to nowadays, and where can we find you? Like, are you, like, if somebody wants to know what Vinny Perretta is up to, let us know. So we know what's going on in your life these days.
Yeah. Let me just kind of revert back to that last one really quick. So my oldest son, Leo, he's 7 years old, and he just started playing soccer, and I'm coaching him, and we were out at practice the other day, and he's my oldest kiddo, so he's always beating up, number 2 and number 3. And we were out on the soccer field the other day, and he got kicked with a soccer ball. It was a cold day, just bam, right square right in the face. And he just went down, and he was fighting back his tears, but I could tell he didn't want to cry in front of his boys and was trying to be tough. And that just put a big old smile on my face. As bad as that sounds, I am so happy that he just got kicked square in the face with a soccer ball and that it hurt, right? And so we got in the car after practice and said, "Leo, you were really tough, buddy. Like, that had to have really hurt." I said, "But I'm so happy you got kicked in the face." He's like, "Dad, why? Why?" I'm like, "'Cause Leo, that's life. You get popped in the face all day, every day, man. You know? Are you going to get back up and keep going, you know?" And he's just sitting there like, "Okay." And he might not notice it right now. I'm probably being a crazy dad, but I just love that about him. Just faced a little adversity on the soccer field at 7 years old, and he probably grew from it. But anyways, yeah, I'm living here in Boise, Idaho. I'm married to my wife, Jess. She played soccer at BSU, and we've got 3 kiddos. We have 2 boys and a girl, Leo, Rocco, and Gemma. I was doing medical device. I did that for about 9.5 years. And now I've hopped on with Title One. It's a local title and escrow company, servicing kind of the region of the Northwest, and been doing that for about 3 years. And, you know, outside of work and family and being a husband and being dad, I, you know, really enjoying the active lifestyle that Idaho has to offer, you know, getting up in the foothills and running and the green belt, and going to Boise State football games and basketball games, and just being active in the community. And I like to golf as well. So that's kind of what I've been up to, Shane.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. I want to send this over to Joel, the Blue Collar Club, the guy who's running the Blue Collar Club. Like, let him hear it, because we all love hearing from the guys that set the standards here at Boise State, and to see what they're doing now. You're super successful family man. I too have, it's weird. I have 2 boys and a little girl as well.
Yeah.
So it's cool hearing
Yeah.
that. I didn't know that piece of it all. So that's awesome, man. We look forward to seeing your success moving forward. I love it, Vinny. I appreciate you joining me and being willing to share your story. And if one of these days we can meet up, that'd be awesome. I could chat with you some more, but I wish you the best of luck moving forward, brother. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, Shane, thanks so much for thinking about me, man. I'm humbled to even have you reach out to me. You know, like I said, I haven't done one of these for a while, so you do an awesome job, man. And I definitely encourage you to keep reaching out to guys, because it is fun to, you know, talk to humble, good dudes like yourself. So I appreciate you allowing me to take the time to be on your show. So thanks for thinking of me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. For those who are listening, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Leave me a review on Apple Podcasts if you can, so we can get this out to more people. And we'll be coming to you next week with another interview. Take care. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of my show. Now, if you could go and do me a favor, head over to iTunes, give me 5 stars, and leave me a review, it would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support.